Okay, so hi. Okay, so this is the weekly TST meeting. Today's the 28th of March, not the 3rd. And obviously this meeting is being recorded. So let's see what we got to work with here today. So Holger, we've got a few agenda items today. Good. Okay, so Holger had an item to increase robustness of the ONU MCI configuration. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, during our testing, we encountered an ONU that rejects the configuration of an OMCME, which actually was mandatory to set up corresponding flows. And the first result was an infinite loop. That means that the RW core sends an update flows incrementally with a command to add the flow. The ONU adapter tried to process it, but the ONU rejected the configuration. That's why the ONU adapter rejects the configuration too. And then afterwards, the RW core sends removal of these flows, and after some times the cycle starts again. The RW core sends again the flow add, and so on. So there are two issues I think we have to think about. The first one is that that if we should prevent such infinite loop and introduce some kind of limit of configuration attempts in the RW core. It means which is, for example, you tried 3 or 4 times to configure, and new configuration attempts are only made if the configuration has been changed or if the ONU has been restarted. So that's the first item I would like to have your opinion about. And the second one would be I would like to increase the transparency of the ONU adapter by issuing some kind of device event if I encounter the first time that an OMSI configuration is not possible and is rejected. I would send such a device event. It's also one of the measures to be done. But I think that the first one is the one we should talk about. What is your idea? Should we remove this infinite loop or should we live with it?
Holger, did you say that it's the RV core who is sending the flow again and again?
Yeah, this RPC update flows incrementally comes from the RW core, and actually he's not stopping with it. You can leave it running 20, 30, 50 times. It's still the same scenario.
Okay, I don't remember that we have a loop or a retry in the RW core. Is anybody on the call knows anything about that? If it is the RW core or ONOS application sending the
I don't know if who is initially sending it. What I know, correct me if I'm wrong, that the tech profile comes from the OLT adapter. The download request for the tech profile, and according to my knowledge, the update flows incrementally comes from the RW core. But
yes,
okay, can you say it could also come from the ONOS is an initial trigger? That could also be.
Yes, the initial trigger is ONOS for the flow head.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who triggers this retries. Yeah. But I agree that if
Yeah,
there
so
is some kind of retry in anywhere, it may be better to, you know, leave trying after a few attempts. Because the main idea was previously, as far as I remember, was to, you know, return an error from the adapter to RW core, and from RW core to application, so that if anyone, I mean, wants to retry it, then they can retry to give the service again or send the flow again.
and it looks like this is done. And okay, now we need somebody with owner's knowledge to have a look at it, probably to if it is possible to limit the attempts. But obviously, at the moment, the attempts are not limited. It will be he is trying again and again.
Okay. Could you please open a Jira task so if somebody can take it and check if it's from the RW core or ONOS?
Yeah,
and
I can do it.
Do you have logs for this from RW core and ONOS to attach the task?
I think I have to I think ONOS I do not have, but I can repeat it, the test, and collect the logs.
Thank you very much. And any comment from anybody about that, or stopping this retry or not?
Yeah. Actually, it is some kind of design decision, you know. If how should we react on such events? What is your opinion, Mahir? Should we prevent such loops? I think so.
To me, we should, but let's find the, you know, source of the error and try to understand why we put it before. Then we can discuss this with a bit more knowledge.
But probably that would also be an issue for the VOLTHA for the successor of ONOS, right? For this what is it? VOLTHA application is VOLTHA application which is replacing the ONOS, I think. But I think Mahir is not in the call, right?
Yes, agree on that. But
no,
I don't know currently. I mean, currently.
Yeah. Amit is here.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we also need to look at what is the state of the flow that we put it in, right? Do we keep it in pending add once the add fails? Because if it is in pending add, then the controller would try to add it again. Right? So I think we would need to look into the states that we could put the flow into. But that being said, I think at a first level, the adapter on the interface should be able to indicate, right, to the user, which is RW core in this case, that it has encountered an error which there's no point in retrying, right? So an appropriate error code should be returned or somehow indicated to the user saying that we have an error and there's no point in retrying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay,
So I think on the API, on the API, I think it should be somehow we need to bring that in. Whether the error is something which is like transient and a retry could help, or whether it's not going to help.
Yeah, that's why the second point I would like to introduce some kinds of ONU device event, which is stating that we have an unsupported OMCME, and actually with this ONU and this software, it does not make sense to continue to try to make this visible, you know.
Holger, Currently, according to failure in ONU adapter, we currently respond with an error, do we? I guess there wasn't
it's-
a
yeah,
return
that's-
result in the previously, then we added some return
That's-
result to Flowet so that we can say that it's failed to our record.
That's why we get this flow remove and then a flow add again, because
Yes,
we
yes.
reject the configuration. But it seems it is not very qualified. I think we do not have errors indicating that we, for example, have an unsupported ME and it does not make sense to retry. I think this interface does not exist yet.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, then I will go ahead with two items. Write two JIRAs and also to I think the second point. Do you have any objections to implement the second point that we sent this only device event, or can I proceed with this?
So, Holger, I don't have an objection to that, but I don't really know how this could be used, because so the problem is between the controller, RW core, and the adapter, right? And even if we ship this event out on the Kafka bus, none of them are looking for this event. So
Actually,
yes, the
there are two ways,
user.
no?
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that
alternative way, you know, it would be an alternative way. We need some kind of internal signaling that that there is an unsupported ME. This would stop probably the owners in RW core from sending trying to configure the flow or the take profile again. And the second way would be to make it transparent, probably to the user, that there's an ONU connected which does not support the full ONC configuration.
yes. So essentially, in that case, the application or the user could look for this and figure out, okay, this is the case, and externally take this ONU out, right, from ONOS and RW4.
That means you
Right? I think
you
that's.
would agree with this two ways?
Yeah, I think there's no harm in sending this event out on the Kafka bus. It gives more information, but I think we also have to find out how we stop this loop here.
Yeah. That's a separate issue, you know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm taking care that only the first occurrence of this configuration issue is sent to not spam the only device channel. So, you know, there would be only one event for each unsupported ME for the ONU, and only if there's an attempt to reset the ONU or to update or something like this, then it would be notified again. So there's no harm or no danger to spam the channel, you know.
Yeah, but that would mean that we would need to keep a flag on the ONU's structure, right, in the adapter, the OpenONU adapter.
Yeah.
Saying that whether it is.
Yeah, I will record. I will take a memory which OMSI ME classes had an error and only notified it once, you know.
Yeah, but if we fix the first problem, then we don't need this flag, right?
No, actually, yeah, okay, but nevertheless, the reason should be transparent. Why the ONU does not come up, and that's why
agree to that.
event.
Yeah, what I'm just thinking about is that the ONU structures are anyways pretty big, right? And when we look at the amount of memory that the ONU adapter is consuming already, it's quite high. So I think we should be worried about introducing more and more fields in the ONU structures.
Okay, that we are talking about a slice which only has 1 byte storage for each unsupported ME.
Yeah.
That means
Yeah, agreed, Holger.
if
Agreed.
all yeah. Okay, probably I can create a Garrett review and you can have a look if it would be okay for you. I think we have
sure.
we have some other places to spare.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, then I think we are through with this issue. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. So next up is Abalash. Discussions on the prototypes for controllers. Let's see. Do we need an extra message or should we use the same device event message? As of now, ONOS places the message on the bus in JSON format with the same definition as the controller proto. And Abalash, if you'd like to take over.
Thanks. Yep, thanks. So, yeah, we have introduced an event in the proto. ONOS is still doing it, but it's using JSON. So it's like JSON, it's in a structure somewhere defined in one of the files, and it will be hard for the Northbound components or anyone who is interested in that to know the definition, what is being put on the bus. So to make it easier, as we have moved to VGC now, so it would be easier for the controllers or anyone, even from Northbound components or anyone else, to look into the message prototype and then read it accordingly. That's why we have added it to the photos. I heard from the comments Sarkant and Maher thought that we can use the device events instead of this. But yes, we can, but just to make it compatible with ONOS, we had this as the same event how ONOS does it. Sarkant, Maher?
Yes, Abhilash. So I am wondering if we are pushing in another format, if we push the event in another format, so how this helps the backward compatibility. In any case, you need to change your Northbound application, right?
Yes, you're right, but it'll be only with the marshalling. So you'll be unmarshalling with the JSON. Here, you just need to unmarshal with the proto, using the proto. But still, the message would be the same, what is sent by ONOS. So, yeah, to make it a bit easier, that's it.
Yeah, I see your point, but we are now inserting another message in the proto, and we are making a redundant message, right? So we have a device event, and now we have an ONU event, and device event and ONU event have different fields. So in any case, if we decide to do that, we should document it so everybody should understand, because it is our Northbound API, right? We are telling everybody to the outside world, this is our Northbound API, and you can use this API to talk with the VOLTHA. So we should be careful violating new messages.
What's the purpose of this message, Abhilash? Do you know who uses this?
Actually, in ONOS, right? So if you try to activate a service when the uniport is not up, so it would return an error.
Does ONOS use it or ONOS publish it?
No, ONOS publishes it.
Yeah.
So why it's used is like only once the uniport is up in the ONOS, only then it'll accept the API to push the flows. So if it's not up, it'll return error. So this message is for the northbound components to know that, okay, fine, the uniport is up. We can go ahead and push the flows.
Isn't there any other such events in ONOS to indicate that any port of the related switch is up or not? I mean, this is ONOS, you know, this is SDN controller, but it's kind of specific device related event. So
Yeah, it is from the I believe it is the XOS times, right, Mahir? I believe that is the original event.
Yeah, and if my proposal is, if anybody doesn't use it, we don't need to put it in the you know, Kafka bus, this event. Or if, you know, ONOS has same kind of thing, like publishing a state of the port, it's the port of a device that it manages, then again, we don't need this event. And it's so specific, like, you know, there is ONU in its name, so kind of weird, actually.
So, hi, this is Amit. So I think if we go back to the history, I think at some point of time, all the events from all the ONOS apps. So if you look at what is happening within the DHCP Relay app or the AAA app, they were sent out using events through the Kafka bus. And I think the SIBA exemplar platform that we had with Exhaust, right, was using these events to for its GUI requirements, right? And you would know, okay, when a subscriber comes in, when the IP address is allocated. So I think that was the use case where all of this was being used, and it gives a way for the ONOS applications to be able to send out information out, right? Else, there's no way it can send a user can know asynchronously what is happening inside the ONOS apps.
Yeah, I got this. I mean, what I'm asking is, you know, it's a very basic thing for ONOS like platform to publish a state of a port it's managed, you know, because the job of ONOS is to, you know, check the states of these ports and push flows to these ports, etc. So if there is something that related to port status and any event that is, you know, published by ONOS for the, not specifically for UNI, but any port, then we can use it, replace it, you know, replace this ONU event with that event. If there is no, okay, we can go with this.
No, so there would be internal events from within ONOS which would be available when related to the ports, definitely, right? But I don't think those are getting published to the Kafka bus. So this part that was happening was all the ONOS apps, and these events are specifically for the OLT app, right? So we had another thing called the Kafka integration, right? Through the Kafka integration, all the apps were sending events that they really wanted to publish outside.
Okay.
Now, whether we want to retain it or not is a question which we can just discuss and say whether, if there are no users, we might as well say that, okay, we don't want to retain it.
Okay, I don't have any objection in this case. You know, if you need this, you know, this is not a, you know, bad event to publish. Yeah, in any case, if there's an application at Notebound and needs to know that an UNI is up and ready to to be configured, then probably it needs this kind of event.
Yeah, but one comment, Abhilash, maybe that we could name the event a little bit more appropriately so that
Yes.
it gives it's more intuitive to understand that it's a ONU showing up on the controller, right, or something related to the Uniport, so that it does not create confusion, as Sarkant is saying, right, of the
Yes.
ONU events that are happening from the vCore and the ONU adapter.
But the
Yeah, makes
only
sense. Yep.
only reason we are adding this, we don't have the necessary field in the device event, right? If we had the necessary field, then we probably wouldn't add this event. So maybe we can extend an existing one in the VOLTHA protos to do the same thing.
Sarkant, I wouldn't completely agree on that because the events that are coming from the ONU adapter or the vCore say that the ONU is present in the vCore or the adapter, but that does not indicate that the ONU or the port is available at ONOS. Right? So if an application were to look at those events and try to operate on ONOS using some of the ONOS APIs, it could run into timing issues, right? Because it's not guaranteed by the time the application receives the event from vCore that the port is already available at ONOS or not.
I see your point. So we are talking about Uniports, not the only event now.
Yes.
And
Yes,
in
Uniports.
So in VOLTHA, these are the logical ports. I don't think we have any events related to the logical ports right now. So yeah, in any case, we would need a new one.
Yeah, I think we should change the name to signify that's this is a Uniport, right, or the logical port which is showing up on the controller, and I think that should ease the confusion.
Yep, makes sense. I'll just mention it as port because for control it's just a port. Whether it's Uniport or a switch port, it doesn't matter for the controller. So I'll just say it as port status. I can change that and I'll put it up. Should be fine. Just port status. Hello?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I don't, it's too generic this time because we have as far as I remember, we have OLT serial number and ONT serial number like parameters in this event, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's a bit specific, not like a generic port event.
Okay. Yep, good. Okay, I'll rename it as Uniport. Uniport status.
So see, this info is really coming from the OLT app, right? So maybe we can call it something like OLT logical port status because it's only a logical port of the OLT. That is what ONOS is seeing. And it is specific to OLTs. It's not specific. It doesn't apply for any other type of devices because it's coming from the OLT app.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Abhilash, you can suggest some names, and maybe we can ponder over it over the patch set review.
Okay, sure. I'll come up with a few ones.
Yeah.
Another concern.
The basic idea would be to avoid confusion.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Another concern
sorry,
or
Mahir.
question here, Amit. Is it the correct place to put this proto into Volta protos, or is it better to put it in somewhere in controller repos? What do you think?
Yeah, so that is something that I think I had shared, that maybe we can have it within the controller itself, the proto. But I think the way things are as of today is all the protos as of today are in this one Volta protos repo, right? So anything to do with the Volta project. So the OpenOLT, which is between the adapter and the device, that is also here, as well as vCore's not-bound interface. That entire thing is also here. So yeah, I think that's something that should be discussed. And if we agree that yeah, it doesn't make sense to be out there, then we could put it into the controller.
To be honest, I don't have a concrete idea from here, so.
So actually, why we also put it in Volta Protos is regardless of the controller, this can be used. A controller also can use this proto, and the other components also can use this proto. If it goes into the controller, then it will be very controller specific.
Okay, but this is the source of the event is the controller, and if there is a controller in the system, then you may have this event, and otherwise you currently don't have this event and don't need to implement it. So you need the controller in your system to have this event.
No, correct. Yeah, but what my point was, like ONOS, like if we have now, okay, we'll have to redefine the same protos. And VGC, I'm just checking an example.
Yeah,
VGC
okay.
will have to redefine the same protos again. So if there is any change there, it will have to be reflected here. So instead, if we move to a common place, then any controllers coming in can use the same proto. Any not-bound applications can use the same proto.
Got it. Okay, no objection. Okay, we can proceed to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks like Abhilash is up again. Discussion of the get object APIs. Will the get object API break abstraction, or should we have specific APIs to query the ONU, PON, or scheduler, or other objects information from the device?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. So on this, I had put a generic get object API. So because there can be many objects in the device, like we have now OLT also as an object, and ONU and PON ports. There can be as well schedulers, queues, and many other objects. So that's why I just to not to have so many APIs, I just put it as one API and provide the type of the object we want to get. So that was the main reason behind it. So if we are good with separate APIs, yeah, it should be fine with separate APIs as well. Mahir, Sarkand,
Yes.
any thoughts?
Abhilash, first of all, how do you call this get object on the northbound? I mean, you have it in the OLT adapter, but the upper layers, in RW core and the northbound of the RW core, how do you plan to call this? Do you have a new API on the northbound of the Volta for that, or what?
No. This is as of now just used by OpenVLT adapter.
Yes.
For the reconciling purpose.
reconciling purpose. Okay.
So it's not used by, it's not used by any of the northbound components. Even Volta core doesn't use it, and no other northbound components use it for now. Because it's expected that Volta will always be sync with the OLT. So if anything, any state wants to be known by the northbound, that will be available with the core.
Okay, this comment basically came from Burak. You know, he works on OLT agent side, and with his comments, I realized that this is mostly the way that we are using, you know, for the abstraction. For example, we have get x value or get x parameters. I don't remember the exact name of the message, but we have this kind of message that we're using at the northbound of the VOLTA, and also it goes to adapters to get some specific values from the devices. But in adapters, we change it to the specific messages like get Rx power, get, I don't know, some counter, etc. So from adapters to agent, we mostly, you know, we prefer to go with specific APIs, not just this, you know, generic, everything included API. So in this manner, I think Burak is right to be, you know, at least have a similar implementation with the previous, you know, implementations and the previous our way to go. So I think it's better to change it to, you know, get pawn object or get pawn something instead of get pawn info, for example, get ONU info, get scheduler info instead of calling get object.
Okay.
And this
Yeah,
makes
either
code
way is
more
fine.
readable, you know. It also makes the
Yeah,
code more
agree.
readable, yeah.
Yeah, agree to that. Yeah, sure. It should be fine either ways.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and change it right now. Anyone else has any other thoughts? Fine if we have
One,
separate APIs. Yeah.
yeah, so sorry. Yeah, no, on the API, I'm fine. But with these changes, right, the Volta protos won't be backwards compatible, right? So do we need to bump up the major version of the Volta protos repo?
Why do you think, okay, for the previous
Yeah.
patch.
Yes, if the adapter is new and the agent is old, yes, it will not be backward compatible.
Because we are introducing new RPCs, right?
Yes, right. And they will be used. It's not like they'll not be, but yeah, they'll be used. Once the adapter restarts, yes, we have to bump up, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something that we need to consider.
If we can revert the previous commits, then we don't need to bump up it.
No, Mahir, what I mean is that yeah, we can revert the previous commit and get rid of the get object, right? So we don't have the get object, and as discussed, we have specific RPCs. But what I'm questioning is that we are introducing new RPCs in this version of the Volta protos, right?
Yeah.
So to to signify that, right? Don't we need to bump up the major version of the Volta Protos repo, saying that this is not compatible with the previous released version, right?
I got it. I don't know. The rules was, if you have some bug resolved, etc., you need to increment the patch version, the
Yeah.
last of the 3 version, digits. If you have
Yeah.
an interface change, then you need to bump up the second one, which is the minor, I guess, which is called the minor version. And if you have, big change that, as you said, it changed the backward compatibility, then you have to bump up the first digit. But I'm not sure I think we're not breaking the backward compatibility here. We just introduced new versions or new interfaces, sorry. So we can only, I guess, increment the second digit of it.
The minor version.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that might be okay, but yeah, I will also look a bit more deeper into that.
Yes.
And maybe we can again,
Okay.
try to
Let's-
conclude over that in the patch set review. If not, then we bring it back to the TST next week.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll upload the new patch set with whatever we discussed. Yeah. Apart from that, there are quite a bit of reviews on the retry parts and also the agent reconcile and adapter reconcile. So please feel free to provide comments. Review and provide comments. Otherwise, we are good. Yeah. That's it from my side. Thanks, Joey. I'm
Oh.
done.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let's see. Next up, we have Torsten. He has a suggestion for a temporary workaround for the VOLTCTL binary issue.
Yes, it's only a temporary workaround until it's work in the old common way. I tried manually. I clone the VOLTCTL repo, check out the corresponding version, or I cloned only the corresponding version. Then I make a build, took the binary and put it in the binary path, and that's all. And all this stuff can change in the install Volta Groovy file. It's only one file for all the Jenkins jobs, and so we can do it, but we need on the Jenkins server a Go compiler, and that's what the question is here. Does anybody knows if we have there a compiler for Go or not?
I would wager we likely do, because we have there's an installation of the Golang package on the machine. The rest of it sounds good. The installing a different version of Go might be problematic because we have potential to change the default version that's on the machine, and that could end up affecting a lot more than just the local use of the VOLTCTL command.
The Go version is copied here from the README from VoltCTL. I used another, also a different one locally. So if there's a Go compiler, it should work.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know how the next point how it looks. Maybe if you solve this in the next 2 days, we should don't do it in this way. I suggested, so we should have to wait. But if you say you don't know when you will finish or solve the issue, then this is a possibility.
Okay, sure. Let me see. Yeah, if we do pursue this, the only request I would have is that we add conditionals in VOLTHTA, so it's easy to toggle back and forth between the local fix and the release, just so we don't have any special code at release time. I can jump in and give some updates on what's going on with the VOLTHTA binary with the actual release job. So the edits that have been going in right now, we pretty much had to rewrite the GitHub release command. We're using a different tool from GitHub. It's a GH binary, different syntax, and there were some mildly different authentication or ways to do authentication. All of that logic is in place right now. What I'm dealing with right now are individual failures from the Jenkins job, trying to get it to run cleanly. And this is a little bit painful because you have to go through the whole release cycle. So it's about an hour and a half or 2 hours per attempt before you get feedback from it. But that's all part of the fun. So one item of note something that I noticed, right now when the VOLTHTA command runs, we trigger something that's a VOLTHTA sanity test job. The release job is currently not dog fooding the built VOLTHTA binary. When the test runs, we pull the latest down from GitHub, and that's what we actually use for testing. We're not using the binary that we're getting ready to release. It's probably not the end of the world, but we'll just have to fix that at some point. So the piece I'm at right now, so I've been able to run the release script locally, under my credentials, and the same ones that Jenkins will end up using. I've been able to publish some bogus releases to the VOLTHTA repository. If you see any crazy version numbers under the release link, that's where they came from. They were successful attempts. The thing I'm running into right now, the release job runs. Here I could show you what it looks like. Okay, so the release job runs, there's banners in here, so it's easier to follow too. It echoes the environment variables we're getting for Garrett when the job is kicked off. We'll need these if we want to do manually retrigger the job later to avoid that hour and a half lead time to get to where the release is actually running. So we run we first install the GH binary, the latest one, so we can interact with GitHub. This is just identifying the version we're going to publish, which is 1.8.34 in this case, VOLTHTA 1.8.34. Just some more debugging. So we make the call to produce the release. It's running in a Docker container. There's all kinds of stuff in here. So where's my scroll bar? So we get down to the point where the release actually succeeded, the make release call, and we're failing at the point where we're trying to copy the binaries that were produced into a directory where we're going to create the release from. My assumption right now with this problem is, since we're running in the container, we actually need to transfer the binaries back to the Jenkins node where we're running the release command. I think that's all that's going on with this. Side note, the release script has the ability to dump a stack trace and interrupt handlers, so we can get line numbers when the script actually fails. It's not silent like it was before, so that was a nice addition. So to answer your question, I know it's being optimistic, but I think this is going to be resolved very soon, because I just have to identify the Docker container where the release binaries were created and then copy them from that container over to the local Jenkins node, and then we can finish the actual release call. And that's what all this stuff is down here. So are there any questions, or do you want to dovetail anything into the proposed workaround, anything in between?
So the question is, Joy here, as Torsten asked, if this will be finalized in a few days, for example, 2 days, what do you think?
My answer is yes.
Okay.
There's only two pieces right now. There's making the binaries available that were created and then actually running the release call. That logic I've tested locally. I know it works from the prototype releases that were done. It's just figuring out what's causing these variants, straightening out the errors that Jenkins is reporting. So yes, we're very close. I know I've said that before though.
So in this case, Torsten, do you think we need to do it, or we can wait for a few more days?
In this case, we should wait for Joey, of course. Yes.
Okay then.
But Joe, can you go back to the error again? It was too fast for me.
Oh, sure. It's in, if you want to look at it offline too, it's in the TS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I see. Okay, then I will.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will offline.
Okay. Yeah. Just FYI, the GitHub release call, the make release call, is running in a Docker container. This copy to release and where we actually make the release call is on the Jenkins node. It's a different machine. That's the only reason I'm saying we need to transfer the binaries being released. And that's where this artifact directory is empty message is coming up. Oh, yeah, that was one other addition too. Part of the problem why we were not seeing an error message before is we just blindly tried to copy files for the release. Since there were no binaries available, no error was detected. We just tried to copy dot, nothing was there. There is an explicit test in there now that will gather the files in the release directory and make sure the count is greater than 0. So we can't create a false positive release by only publishing sources, which is what was happening before. But yeah, this right here, these two are the that's the log for it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. And with that, I guess we're getting, just FYI, we're getting close. It's 5 of the hour. If anybody needs to log off, the floor is open if anybody would like to bring up anything or discuss anything.
Just a minor one. There was a question on the Slack channel. Someone is asking how they can insert their vendor IDs to the allowed vendor list. So if anybody know how can we help those guys, we should better transfer them. Probably, I don't know, still ONF supports the certification process or something, I don't know. Maybe we can...
Do you mean vendor ideas of ONUs?
Yeah. So simply
actually
yeah, simply we can insert the vendor ID, but nobody knows if this is correctly working with the VOLTHA, right? So somebody needs to certify it. It might be Turkish Telecom, it might be Deutsche Telekom, or it might be ONF, right?
Do
Well,
you know
I
who was-
don't think ONF's in a position to certify an
Yeah.
unknown company that's not a member of ONF. You know, that's asking too much. But you know, I don't know what these. I don't know the history of these IDs, but if it's just really assigning an ID, I wouldn't have an objection. I don't know if others would have an objection. I don't know how it was done in the past either.
To get you right, it's about the vendor ID of ONUs, and there we have an Helm chart parameter, I think, which lists all the supported vendor IDs. But or is it about to verification if a certain ONU is really working with the VOLTHA stack? This would be the previous step before you can put it into the list of supported ONUs. Do you mean this second?
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't know the location of the configuration. It's probably in the Helm charts, RV core Helm charts, I guess. So there's a vendor list. That
Yeah,
is what I'm referring to.
in the Helm charts. I think it is in the Helm charts of the ONU
Yeah.
adapter. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, probably. So we are saying for we don't have the certification in the ONF, right? So we can refer to the ONF certification. So should we allow them to insert their IDs? I'm not sure of that.
Actually, I don't remember if we had a prerequisite for this, adding this vendor ID to the VOLTHA previously. Do we only have the IDs of the vendor that are certified previously? I'm not sure about that.
Yes, you are correct, but somehow we know that all of the vendors tested by the Deutsche Telekom or Turkish Telecom, right?
Actually, I'm not sure. I mean, any of the software development companies or companies that are testing VOLTHA, I think they could add any vendor into the vendor string, So as ONF or as community, we haven't asked them if they did the related tests or, appropriate whole sets of tests, etc.
So if you are saying that,
Amit,
we probably don't need that allowed vendor IDs or something, right?
No, currently we have a lot of vendor IDs there. I say that we, as ONF or community, we didn't check if these vendors did the appropriate test for Turk Telecom workflow and Deutsche Telekom workflow. We haven't checked it. So any company, company around the VOLTHA development, they did some tests with some, vendors, and they add that vendors into this list. So we haven't checked it if they are certified or not. I think the link that Amit pasted to the chat, if you go there, I don't think all of the vendor IDs here are certified by ONF previously.
Yeah, of course. What I meant is not the certification, but in the lab, at the ONF or at some vendor, we know all of those are working with VOLTHA. Anyway, if we don't need it, maybe we can, if that pivot some vendor not working with VOLTHA, maybe we can remove that allowed ID vendor feature.
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that we should allow everybody here without any condition. We can request some tests from them, at least some test results from them, some kind of reports from them to add them to here. But it shouldn't be, certification. Certification is, yeah, it's a broader concept.
I see. And you are saying at least we can ask them if they are tested with VOLTHA, they can tell us which model they have tested, and we can add it to our list, and the community knows that ONU is working with the VOLTHA.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah, so I would think that the list that is there in the Helm chart does not say that this, as Mahir is saying, right, this has been certified by ONF. For that, I think they have to look at the ONF marketplace, right, which lists all the devices that have passed the ONF certification and are available there. So I think this is just a Helm chart, anyone can update it. As in, even if we don't check it in, they can update it in their own copy and they can run it.
Yeah, that's another point.
Yeah. So I would say that, yeah, we can send this link that they can update it, they can try it out with their own one, and if they wish to submit a patch set saying that, okay, we have tested with ONU XYZ and it works as well, and they submit a patch set, we can merge it.
Yes, I agree on that.
Okay, good idea. Can someone do that, or I can do that tomorrow, if you like?
You mean answering to Slack?
Yeah, answering to this Slack channel.
Okay, I can do that.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. A little bit past the hour. I guess thanks to everybody for joining.
There's only one information from my side. No one from Atran will be attending the TST meeting next week.
Okay.
Only for information.
Thanks for letting us know.
We will miss you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.